Creation to the fall of man. Language has always failed to describe in adequate terms the things of the Spirit. The wholly inspired writers who have attempted to write on the topic of creation to the fall of man have always used allegories and pictorial symbols to tell the creation story. The first 4 verses of chapter 1 of the Gospel according to St. John reads, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men." The Greek emphatic diaglot from which the English versions are translated used logoses instead of word. Thus the statement reads, "In the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God." The Logos is defined to mean thought, reason, force, order, maxim, cause, effect, expression, volitional autonomy, command, etc. We could then see the difficulty of the inspired writer in attempting to describe the causeless cause within whom all causes and their manifested effects are made expressed. It may be very difficult to use finite language to describe that which is the cause of language itself, just as it will be difficult for the chick to describe the egg from which it came. The life of the chick itself is the clear demonstration of an intelligent source, silent yet more eloquent than thunder. Paraphrasing the poetic description as contained in the first 4 verses of John chapter 1, it will read, "In the beginning was an active power which contains within itself the ability to express, cause, end, think, reason, effect, maximize, etc. And without this active power was not anything made that was made, because the power of making and the fabric to be made are its very being. In it was light, and the light was the life of men." Proof of the existence of God. God, whether known to you or not, is a spirit. Spirit is that which cannot be seen, but when it expresses itself, could be recognized by any of our 5 senses, and even in the 6th sense, which is the seat of imagination. To the man who has pitched his tent in the desert, the footprints of the animals that walk by his tent in the night reveal the identity of the night creatures. By the numerous footprints of God everywhere displayed, and by the breath and intelligence of our own very existence, the reality of an intelligent power from whom all manifested and unmanifested things have their source is very evident. A look at our immediate surroundings reveals billions of people on the planet Earth with their individual tastes, hopes, and aspirations. The Earth we know is a small planet among 10 other planets going round the Sun. The Earth by itself has also got a subplanet, the Moon, going round it. In like manner, other planets also have subplanets encircling them. Saturn, for example, has 7 such subplanets going round it. All these planets, subplanets, and the many other meteors and meteorites going round the Sun, together with the Sun itself, constitute the solar system. Science has revealed that the little twinkling stars seen in the night are really mighty balls of fire, some actually burning 1,000,000 times brighter than our Sun. These billions of stars, together with our Sun and its bodyguard of planets that form a family known as the Milky Way galaxy, in relationship to our solar system, is considered as a drop of water in the mighty ocean. The Milky Way galaxy is but one of the billions of such galaxies in the universe. Coming back home to our planet Earth and observing the mathematical order by which summer is precisely followed by autumn, autumn by winter, winter by spring, and again observing the mathematical order of moons, planets, meteors and meteorites, going round the Sun in perfect order without the accident of a clash, the reality instantly dawns that there is a mathematically exact, intelligent power and supreme being behind this universe. To deny this is to deny the intelligence of the mind of man behind the washing machine, the video, the computer, and other technological revelations of today. From the above-cited occurrences, and many more examples in life, the footmarks of God are seen. God, as supreme intelligence, is therefore a proven reality. Creating the worlds. Let us, for the purpose of understanding creation, assume that the very room where you are presently sitting, with its 6 sides of roof and floor, north, south, east and western walls, is all the universe that there was. Omnipresent God had filled all of this place as power, the spirit of causing and effecting, expressing as all of the forces defined in the meaning of the word logos. God then decided to create. With what would he create? The Lord our God, being alone and omnisciently filling the entire world that there is, would automatically use himself or part of himself to create the manifested forms. Where would God place his created objects of stars, suns, moons, planets, men, and all other created matter? Again, there would be no space or universe where our omnipresent God is not already filling. He was present in the entire universe that there was, so he will have no option but position his created matter within himself. In short, God created everything out of himself and placed them within himself. Thus the Creator and the created are one. The created is an expression of the Creator. All created things are manifesting to some degree an aspect of the Creator. God and his creation can be likened to the relationship between the sand and glass. Glass is made from sand. Therefore, we can say that the substance of any glass is sand. Glasses, by their designs, have got different forms and uses. For example, we have drinking glasses, louver blades, spectacles, Pyrex bowls, windscreens, and magnifying glass. Not only are they of different forms and designs, they all have different uses. They all, however, have one purpose: to bring a kind of joy and fulfillment to man. One of the basic truths about all of them is that they are all made up of one substance, sand, and they are all glass in essence. Although the objects of creation are of different forms, designs, and uses, they all emanate from one consciousness, God. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.10, the truth is emphasized thus: I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all-powerful men. Hence, the Etherean motto, in him we live, move, and have our being. Acts 17:28. All things are made of the fabric of God's substance. They exist within God and move within God. Diamond is more expensive and valuable than coal, yet they both come from one substance, carbon. They have different functions and uses, but the coal is as necessary as the diamond. Such are the expressions of God. All the different manifestations and expressions have their uses at their own levels. None is more important than the other. For example, the ant is as necessary as the spider. God is present in and as the universe. God is the active energy of the universe. The Bible defines creation. The records in the book of Genesis took place many thousands of years ago and are presented in pictorial form and language for the understanding of the people of those times. The scriptures, however, confirmed that creation came forth as an inner urge of God and expressed as spiritual darkness that was not formed, yet present everywhere. General 1:2 we read, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. This is the negative magnetic influence of God carrying creative matter into expression. Then the Spirit of God, the positive electromagnetic force of God, moved forth from within it to interact with the creative darkness by the mystical fiat of "Let there be light," General 1:3. We must here realize that the light called forth was not the sun, the moon, or the stars, but the spiritual light necessary for defining creation. When you read further on in Genesis, you will realize that the suns, moons, and stars were created on the fourth day. The darkness is the field of infinite potentialities, and again, imagining you were in a dark room, you would realize that even though there are pieces of furniture in the room, they cannot be seen. Turning your dimmer electric switch on by just a degree, the grosser and heavier bodies would be seen. Turning the dimmer switch on yet a degree further, less gross and less heavy bodies would become visible. Thus, with the gradual outpour of light, more minute and subtle forms of matter in the room could be seen. This is very similar to what happened at creation as revealed in the inspired book of Genesis. At the first movement of God, the pure, unconditioned nature of God expressed as the creative darkness and the elucidating light. We now see the dual attributes of the one pure and unconditioned being expressed. This dual nature, the positive male and the negative female natures of God, as we will find out, is also expressed in all of God's manifestations. We have the male and female in men, animals, plants, minerals, and even in rivers. The male-female nature of God is referred to as the Mawu Sogbo Lisa of the ewes, the Atana Nyonmo of the gas, and the Egia Ena Nyame of the Akans, all meaning Father, Mother, God. The spiritual night and day are now defined with creative properties ready to start the course of evolution. At the first external interaction of the creative darkness and the creative light, the heavenly bodies of stars, moons, and planets appeared. Further interactions revealed varying forms on all spheres of emanation. Limiting ourselves to the confines of our planet Earth, we realize the next interaction bringing forth the water kingdom. The mineral kingdom appeared with further interactions, then followed the vegetable kingdom. Further interactions revealed the creeping and the animal kingdom. This set the stage for rational man to appear, and at the sixth phase of interaction, man came to the scene. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. General 1:27. Man appeared on the scene with the positive male and the negative female characteristics of God within him. The word man is used in this context to represent both the male and the female human beings. We will realize that order is the first law of his creation. That which was necessary for the sustenance of a particular expression preceded its manifestation. Hence, the water kingdom necessary for the composition of the mineral kingdom had appeared before it. These two kingdoms, necessary for the sustenance of the vegetable kingdom, appeared to sustain it. These, together with the vegetable kingdom, had appeared to sustain the creeping and the animal kingdoms. All of these initial manifestations were needed to sustain the human kingdom. This cosmic interaction is still going on within all of creation. At the next level of interaction which is taking place, and has already made itself manifest in others, man will know himself as the Son of God. At the final level of interaction, the last layer of the darkness will be removed, and man will realize himself as God. It should also be noted that each manifestation contains within itself the properties of the preceding manifestations. For example, the plant kingdom contains within itself the properties of the water and mineral kingdoms. All of these manifestations are simply of varying degrees of expression of the same one God. Man, the highest order in the creative manifestations, contains within himself all of the properties of the previous manifestations, as well as the essence of divinity himself.
A simple example here will drive home the universality of man. If it can be proven that the sun, moon, and the sea are in man, then it follows that all created matter are in man. The proof is that when the moon influences the tide of the sea to rise, it similarly influences some human beings called lunatics to noticeable abnormalities.
We can at this point realize that the moon, sun, and the sea are represented in microcosmic spiritual scale in man. In fact, all men are similarly influenced, but because of their balanced natures, they do not exhibit noticeable abnormalities. Some people at such times become moody or overexcited, and it is regarded as normal if it is within appreciable limits. The menstrual cycle of most women is 28 days, which is the cycle of the moon. The body, earth of man, is made up of 75% of water, and the earth is similarly occupied by 75% of water. The reader can prove the rest for himself, herself. And God said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that crept over the earth." General 1:26. We could realize from the above statement that man is the summation of all created matter. God harnessed the qualities of all the created expressions of himself into the epitome known as man. Since he has all the properties of the previous manifestations within himself, he is capable of knowing and understanding all of the previous manifestations as well as ruling them in peacefulness, even as he rules all of these animalistic, fishy and creepy instincts in himself. Creation is said to have taken 6 days, and God rested on the 7th day. 6 days here mentioned only symbolizes 6 phases, and each phase could be billions of years. Scripture has it in Psalm 90, "For that 1,000 years is but an evening gone in the sight of the Great Spirit." This does not necessarily equate 1,000 years with half a day of spirit time. It signifies the timelessness of spirit's awareness. That which is the cause of time cannot be measured by time. What is time even to the fishes in the sea? The fall of man. The story of the fall of man is recorded in Genesis 3:1-17 as drama between God, man, and a serpent in a certain Garden of Eden in which is planted a tree of the knowledge of good and evil, temptation tree. In the story, Adam and his partner Eve were placed in the eastern part of the Garden of Eden. There, Eve was tempted and lured by a devilish serpent into eating the fruit of the forbidden tree of knowledge of good and evil. Eve ate and enticed Adam, her partner, into eating also. Note the biblical statement that shows how they were led to eat the forbidden fruits. Genesis 3:6 states that they saw the fruits pleasing to the sight and good for food. This speaks of the persuasion of their senses. They then realized that they were naked, ran and hid themselves from God, but were later sacked from the beautiful garden, else they might eat of the tree of life and live. This story was written for people in the remotest times of the Dark Age, presented in truthfulness, yet in simple allegorical pictures to help them have some real grasp of the mystical drama. To help us understand this allegorical story, let us consider the main error that led to the fall. Adam and Eve were told not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It will take a little child some short contemplation to realize that knowledge is acquired by the use of the mind and its various organs of sense, feeling, perception, discrimination, and reasoning. If such a tree ever existed, then it must have been on the mental plane, or simply put, in the mind. If the tree around which the whole fall of man occurred is in the mind, then the whole drama of the fall of man had taken place in mental state of man. When this fact is grasped, it will be easier to understand that all of the participants in the fall drama are in the mind or of the sensory substances. Eden refers to the blissful state of consciousness where man is unidentified with mind, judgment, and its relative confusions. I will now proceed to explain the story of the fall of man from that biblical level. In Genesis 1:27 it says that, "In the image of God created he him, perfect, and with the dual nature of God yet one, male, female created he them." Many holy inspired writings use the word man to imply both male and female. The story of the fall of man is the story of man as male and female. Man was created perfect with the entire myriad of attributes of his creator God, yet he was dimly evolved. This state was symbolized as man being placed at the eastern side of the garden of blissful perfection. We know that the sun in the east is of the same quality as the sun at noon, yet the sun in the east is dimly evolved or expressed. So man was meant to evolve and be totally expressive like the sun at noontime. While at this level of consciousness, man was unconscious of good and evil. He enjoyed life as it was meant to be enjoyed. Life was full of its roses and perfect fruits for him. At this level of expression, man, as spirit, was not yet involved with mind and matter. A desire, snake, crept into the suggestible mind of man, Eve, with an idea, fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, to explore and experience the relativity of the outer manifestations, matter, of his godhood. The idea, fruit, looked good to the suggestible mind, Eve, and was thus transferred also to Adam, the reasoning discriminative mind, for endorsement. The reasoning mind, Adam, accepted the challenge to explore, experience, and be fully expressive in the material consciousness. Adam, the reasoning mind, accepting the challenge means that the whole nature of man became involved in this study and pursuit. Adam can be equated to the discriminative mind, Eve can be equated to the suggestible mind, serpent can be equated to the desire, fruits can be equated to the idea.
Pleasant to sight and good to eat means they yielded to the persuasions of the senses of sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing.
Definition. Eden speaks of the pleasant, harmonious, and productive state of consciousness, the state of infinite possibilities and growth. This state is realized when man functions in harmony with cosmic divine order. When man becomes something other than his divine self, it then becomes necessary to till and cultivate the soil of his soul till he comes into full God realization.
Note how desire, which creeps into one and can be very intense yet rootless, is symbolized by the allegorical snake, which is also limbless. The inner warning and danger is that there is so much kaleidoscopic attractions in the physical consciousness, and man may become identified. In his identification, man may wrongly judge, and judgment breeds the sense of good and evil. Man would not heed his earlier inner warning, but took on the challenge of exploring the relativity of his environment. A traditionalist father may convey such an inner warning to his son that if he dared go to a foreign land, he would become identified with the lifestyle there, lose his bearing, and be lost in delusion, pain, misery, and death, carnal mindfulness. To be carnally minded is the true death, Romans 8:6. God, the larger self of man, warned man, his individualized consciousness, thus, "Man, descend not into the lower realms of manifestations, else you will be carnally minded." Death. Notwithstanding your experiences, your life remains a part of me, but save yourself the temporary confusions. Yet man took on the challenge. There was nothing really wrong in exploring and experiencing the relativity of existence, else omnipotent God would have stopped man. But truly, too, man saw the natural kaleidoscopic changes of the material universe, became identified, and reasoned that even as plants and animals live and die, so death shall be his end. The certain future became dark to him, and fear arrested the heart of man. A sense of oneness with his Maker was dissolved in his self-created fears due to the improper use of his senses of discrimination. A sense of separation thus dawned on man. This state was symbolized as man, Adam, hiding himself from God. Instead of accepting his true role as a ruler of the manifested universes, man felt exposed, naked, to external influences of time, energy, space, and circumstance. This is a sad state indeed. All-knowing God, however, at the center of man, was unconscious of any state of nakedness, but kept prompting man, even as he is doing now, into awakening to the realization of his eternal oneness with him. All-knowing God asked man, "Who told you that you are naked? Arise."
The voice of conscience, God, kept calling man into awakening, but man has departed so far from the truth about life that it is a terror for him to bear, so he kept sinking into deeper feelings of separation. Instead of gathering the courage to analyze his state and resolve to rise, man started making excuses and shifting blame. It is my suggestible mind, Eve, that deceived me. Blaming your incapability on conditions or circumstances is of little use. At best, it rather destroys you. Whatever you blame becomes superior to you. Man is a spirit and must not be sense-dependent. You and only you are responsible for your experiences. You either caused them or allowed them. You can rise, take stock, and decide on a planned action of reformation and move on to do your best in the right direction. Life will not do anything about them for you. Waste no time with excuses. God is not conscious of excuses or deception. Arise and live. Naturally, the inner immortal light within man kept alerting him that life was not all that he perceived, and he knew that so well. The natural dignity of labor, procreation, and the use of his desires became a curse to man. The story of the fall of man is not a historical event. It is what happens to everyone that leads him to error. Whenever you are tempted to do anything wrong, it is mostly by the persuasion of the senses of sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. It is what you see, smell, taste, touch, or hear that offends or tempts you. For example, you smell the aroma of the food, and there is the desire to steal the fish in it. Or you see the shape and beauty of the woman, and there is the desire to pursue a romantic idea or agenda. The teaching here is that you should be spirit-led in your life's analysis and not allow yourself to be sense-led. Another interesting point to note is that of responsible living. In the story, when Adam was confronted by God, he blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the snake. What would have happened if Adam had accepted his fault and offered to make corrections? The story would have changed drastically. The teaching is that the majority of people do not take responsibility for their mistakes and failures, so they continue to make those mistakes and fall deeper into error. When you have excuses for your mistakes and failures, your mistakes and failure have reasons to live with you. There is no God who curses. God did not and cannot curse anyone, since all are extensions of himself. Animals labor before birth, and this is not considered as a curse. Similarly, the course of procreation in the human race is natural. Labor unfolds dignity and converts even deserts into farmlands. This particular state should not be very difficult to grasp, since it is happening daily in our lives. Let us look at the case of a young girl who has enjoyed harmony with her parents. She has been warned not to go out with boys, not that there is anything wrong with it, but that such early involvement could create confusion. The girl feels a desire, which creeps into her like a snake, carrying the idea, forbidden fruit, of early sexual involvement with young men. The idea first goes into her suggestible mind, Eve, and after debating over it several times, turns it to the reasoning mind, Adam, of her being. When the idea is accepted, she goes out with the boys. When she comes back home, she feels her parents would find her out, and therefore she hides herself in her room. She thus feels a sense of separation, guilt, between her and her parents. The parents, however, know that they are ever one with their daughter. If the daughter makes no excuses and shifts no blames, she learns quickly and moves on to progress. She might feel that she has fallen too deep, naked or exposed, to deserve any goodness from her parents, but this sense is only in her mind, and not in her parents, who are her larger extension. Let me at this point emphasize that the fall of man is not caused by the eating of any physical fruit or apple, as some people still believe. Again, the fall of man is not the act of sexual intercourse, as other people believe. The medium through which other souls incarnate on earth cannot be regarded as unholy. God himself commanded all expressions of himself to procreate. The fall of man is just a sense of separateness in existence. The fall of man is not real. Who told you that you were naked? Gendered 3:11. Who told you that you have fallen? I, the Lord your God, am ever one with you. Arise and come back to me from your self-realized prodigal life, and I will gird you with the eternal ring of everlasting union. I will gird you with the shoes of eternal freedom, and robe you with your seamless garments of unlimited authority. The story so far told is the story of man as a spirit, and his descent into material consciousness. Jesus retold this story in the story of the prodigal son, Luke 15:11-32. God has no opposite, so his original attribute is free will, and this is man's first attribute also. Just as it is the nature of God to express, so also is the nature of man to express. Man can express in any field of consciousness he chooses, create and dissolve his creations like God, his larger self. Man chose, like the prodigal son, to descend to the lower realm of manifestations with all of the divine attributes of his Father that are his birthright. He became identified with the natural changes of life, lost the knowledge of his true identity, and became a slave to the Sabbath of conditions. He suffered great pain as a result of his lost identity. But is it lost forever? No. The voice of his spirit keeps echoing till he, like the prodigal son, remembers his lost glory and says, I will arise and go back to my Father. When one compares the love God has for his creation with his love as a man for his fellow men, he comes to realize how deeply he has fallen and become short of the expression of his real identity. When his shortcomings are realized by him, man, and he takes a decision to arise and go to his Father, we say he is not fallen. So in reality, when man can see how deeply he has fallen and takes a positive decision to rise, and he rises, then he is not fallen. Man has a decision to make once he realizes himself as prodigal. God is not conscious of your prodigal life. Thus, when the prodigal son was busy condemning himself as evil and unworthy of the father was busy commanding that he should be robbed with the finest robe, symbol of authority, be given shoes, symbol of eternal freedom, be given a ring, symbol of eternal union, be given the fattest calf, symbol of eternal love, and be given a party, symbol of eternal celebration. With open grace, and without remembrance of any evil that the prodigal son had done, the Father received his Son, and so is God's love for man. The Father was not conscious of the evil of the Son. Scripture says that God's eyes are too pure to see evil, Habakkuk 1:15. For the Father to see the evil that the prodigal son was talking about, evil must first exist in the Father's mind. Scripture says that God is light, and in him there is no variableness, James 1:17. No one can take darkness into the light, and the light cannot be conscious of the darkness. To the pure, all things are pure, Titus 1:15. God being pure and living at the center of your being recognizes only perfection, and that is what you already are. The tree of life is still in the Garden of Eden of the mind. It is guarded by the cherubim and a flaming sword of righteousness, but dare enter into the fires that burn not. Wrestle with the cherubim as Jacob did and was blessed and renamed Israel. No matter the depth of your efforts, hold on to the light and faint not. Did Jacob not rob his brother Esau and his uncle Laban? Yet he held on to the light when he saw it, and the cherubim that guard the tree of life within his mental spheres gave way to the daring soul. Take what is thine. God is your original true nature. That is the tree of life. Accept it and live.
The fall of man can also be likened to a child who is in the care of his parents. In the innocence of the child, the parents have got a perfect dream of what they would want the child to be in future. They provide the child with everything which the child would need for his comfort and enjoyment in order for him to grow and fulfill their perfect dream for him. They guide and guard the child in every way possible. But what do we see when this child crosses the age of puberty and starts to explore his environment and himself? He sometimes becomes identified with things around him, either positive or negative, and by the improper use of his sense of discrimination. Sometimes we see him fall off the path of the perfect dream of his parents. He is now a prodigal son, straying away from the parents' true concepts, beliefs and dreams, and until such a time that he learns through pain that he should not be ignorant of his ignorance, he remains prodigal. But when he comes to the realization of his ignorance and changes his lifestyle to the noble ideals of the parents, he assumes the role which has been his and will be his forever. He is the beloved child of the parents. Remember also that whether the child is good or bad, the parents still love him. Put him into prison, and they will fight to bring him back. Hit him hard, and they will cry for mercy. Such is the love of God to man. Sense and spirit.
In summary, the fall of man is not a historical event of a certain Adam and Eve in a Garden of Eden. It is what is happening to everybody on an almost daily basis. It is the battle between sense and spirit. We have the 5 senses of sight, smell, taste, touch and hearing, and simple as they might appear, they are high forces that rule the lives of the majority. He is a ruler who rules himself and not a nation, and he rules himself who rules his senses. It is the persuasion, expectations and interpretations of the senses that cause you pain or pleasure, or leads you to error or right. For example, desire, snake, creeps into your suggestible mind, Eve, with an idea, the fruit, to steal the fish in the soup. The idea is pleasing to one or more of the senses. If you yield to the persuasion of the senses without the discriminative analysis of the spirit, you are likely to yield to the suggested idea. In the Bible it said that they saw the fruit and it was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes. Genesis 3:6. And this speaks of them being persuaded by their senses of sight and taste. Usually the discriminative voice of your spirit comes in to tell you that this desire of the senses is not right, or it is not the right time. Depending on whose voice you allow to be louder and to dominate, you yield to spirit or to the senses. There is nothing wrong with the senses, and without them you cannot live. They form an integral part of you. The problem is with the lack of the use of the senses of discrimination of the spirit. Sense pleasure says, I want this food, car, property, woman. Spiritual discrimination will say, do you need it? What quantity? Is it the right time? Check it in life. Obesity, crimes of all sorts including rape, stealing, murder and covetousness are perpetrated through the persuasion of the senses. We need the senses to give out and receive communication and to evaluate and navigate our ways in life. Without the senses, you will not know when you are burning and will thus perish. Yet the pursuit of sense pleasure alone without the discrimination of the spirit leads to doom. The sense desire is about what to eat today, what to wear for that occasion, how you look or appear unto others. The spirit desire is about what quality of God you are to express today, what wisdom you must embody, and what blessing you must be, and the list goes on. The senses and its persuasions believe in reality, but blind to its presence. Bible is right that the day you shall go by the judgments of good and evil from the senses, you shall surely die from reality and from your own highest good. Genesis 2:17. And again it confirms that to be carnally sense-minded is death. Romans 8:6. The majority are led mainly by what will please their senses. What about you? The Darwin theory of evolution. I would like to make a little comment on the Darwin's theory in the face of the foregoing. Darwin's theory in actual fact does not digress from or contradict the explanation that we have given. It describes in detail what we have considered to be years of evolutionary changes, leading from one kingdom to the other. The only shortfall in Darwin's exposition is that it fails to acknowledge that all that he described must definitely have been caused by some force or being, the divine intelligence. Whether we accept it or not, God is, and he will not stop existing because we disbelieve his existence. He made all from himself into himself. Thus, in him we live, move, and have our being. The problem that Orthodox Christianity may have with the Darwin's theory of evolution is their belief that creation came forth in 7 earth days, that is from Sunday to Saturday. This is an error. Time varies from planet to planet. For example, the time it will take the Earth to go round the Sun will not be the same with other planets, so a year on one planet could be 100 years of Earth time. If the counting of time is from the center of the universe, then a day, figuratively used, will certainly equate to billions of Earth years. What you have learnt so far. You have known that you are a unit of cosmic consciousness. You are a wave on the mighty ocean. You are not the ocean, yet you are neither separate nor apart from it. As an expression of the great cosmic architect, you are here to reveal the various aspects of God's omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniscience. You are now aware that the omnipresent creative fluid substance of God is responsible for all manifestations. The substance of God changes in frequency to play the role as the world's creative matter and function as the world's drama. Simply put, the universe is an energy system. The creator and the created are one. Imagine your room to be the entire universe. There is only omnipresent God filling it. God then decides to create. He can only use himself to create since there is no other presence. Everything created was created by God and placed in the substance of God. Acts 17:28. In him we live, move and have our being. And from the Bhagavad Gita we read, I am the original seed of all existence. God is complete in every unit of life.
The attribute of the Logos is orderliness and intelligence, and this is seen in the orderly arrangement of creation.
The creation of man is the summation of life on this planet. Let us make man in our own image and likeness. General 1:26. The 6 days of creation are not 6 earth days, but 6 phases, each covering millions of years.
The fall of man is only figurative. It is just a shift of consciousness from who we are as the immaculate and beloved children of God. The only fall there is isn't the sense of separation from the one life that God is. It is only a sense and not real. This sense of separation makes us feel, I am naked, meaning I am exposed to external influences. The whole activity of the melodrama of the fall of man is the activity of the mind. We know that the tree of knowledge of good and evil must be a mental idea and not a physical fruit. Like the prodigal son, all that is now necessary is to come to the state of I will arise and go back to my father. This calls for devoted, dutiful study of spiritual essentials.
Practical application of the topic. Take a look at any object in your home, compound, or in the street as you walk. Look deeply in and through it with a sense of discovering its original substance. You may, in the process of looking, discover them as ions, protons, neutrons, and electrons. Keep looking through with a steady mind until you see them blast into the original substance. A flash of light or awakening may appear before your sight. It is the realization of the spirit substance of all things. Affirmation creation. To the fall of man. I feel the oneness of life. Ever one with God, and as God, I am present in the blades of the grass, the flower in the fields, the soil of the earth, the rays of the sunlight, the water of the seas, and the wind of the air. I am complete in oneness, and my spirit is in the spirit of all things. Self-processing. With your eyes closed, answer these questions several times to yourself. Do this daily or weekly. 1. What great glory of God am I here to shine? 2. How close am I to this glory of God? 3. What is attracting most of my attention, the material or the spiritual? Life is a beautiful mystery, and unraveling the mystery of life reveals new joy moment by moment. You are a mystery too as a unit of life. Enjoy it.